In search of salvation and atonement, sometimes we find ourselves in a hell that we must endure, unless it consumes us whole. With Season 2 of Hell's Paradise finally out, I will be recapping everything major that happened in the first season to get you up to speed. Let's get right to it. After a failed attempt at escaping the murderous lifestyle he was born into, Gabimaru, a skilled shinobi regarded as hollow for his cold way of assassination, is sentenced to death. However, nothing is enough to take his life, including beheading, burning him alive, and even having bulls try to split him in half. To investigate the strange individual, the shogunate sends Sagiri of the Yamada Asemo clan, a clan known for raising executioners and weapon testers, with a strange proposition. After Sagiri battles Gabimaru to snap him out of his funk of wanting to die, she tells him that he can only be officially pardoned for his past deeds if he goes to an island, Shinsenkyo, on the shogunate's behest to find the Elixir of Immortality. After facing his internal conflict, realizes that he wants to live and return home to his wife, the shinobi chief's daughter. So, he agrees. And so, Sagiri and Gabimaru head to where all the other criminals had been gathered by the shogunate, and only one of them would be pardoned for securing the elixir. Each criminal will be paired with a monitor from the Yamada Asemo clan, and they cannot return if the monitor goes missing or dies. Anyone who tried to opt out will be beheaded. The government officials make it clear that this is a suicide mission, and all past expeditions had failed. The only person who returned alive was in a trance, his body sprouting beautiful flowers. We get a peek into how the criminals are barely regarded as human when they are told to fight to the death to mitigate their numbers, saying that the expedition was not large enough for all of them to go. At the end of the bloodbath, there are 10 hardened criminals left, including Gabimaru, who is monitored by Sagiri. And so, the 20 people head to Shinsenkyo, which the government referred to as paradise. And upon reaching there is immediate bloodshed. The criminals murder each other to raise their chances of being pardoned, and their only resources are 3 days' worth of food and a horrible drawing of the fruit containing the elixir. Not long after, Gabimaru is attacked by another criminal and acts purely on instinct, demolishing him. The plants and insects around them are weaponized, and it is a death game where only the strong survive. Surrounding the remaining people are ominous, grotesque monsters with grim smiles plastered on their faces. An uncanny contrast to the island's beauty. While dealing with them, Gabimaru starts questioning his desire for survival without any purpose. A shinobi from a different village named Yuzuriha, accompanied by her monitor, Senta, saves Gabimaru from a monster. Despite not trusting one another, they decide to form an alliance to improve their chances of survival on the Nightmare Island. For context, Sagiri was the daughter of one of the clan's top executioners, and she was constantly targeted by her peers for being a woman and still choosing to pick up a sword, while the general public shunned her for being associated with murderers. Because yay, misogyny! However, she remained determined to get better at wielding a blade, the trauma of her past executions holding her back. Even on the deadly island, she was targeted by fellow Yamada Asemo and deemed unworthy, which disheartens her. But she remains steadfast. Meanwhile, the conflict with Gabimaru grows until he anchors his survival to his wife back home, who was the first person to not treat him like a hollow assassin. On the island, there is Toma, who had infiltrated the Yamada Asemo clan to break out his belligerent brother Chobe. He was now his monitor on the island, both of them looking for freedom to live in peace. The main group encounters a tree monster, Hoko, and a young girl, Mei, who possesses superhuman abilities. While brutal killings occur all around them, the concept of Tao is officially introduced, an innate flow of energy within everything that can be mastered to achieve superhuman strength. The middle way is emphasized, revealing that striking a balance between excess and minimum is needed to become truly strong. Sagiri finally revises her philosophy on wielding a blade, realizing that she could not become powerful if she tried to suppress her emotional side completely. If Tao is used improperly, it leads to certain death. Amid the massacre, the reality is setting in that this is not a simple expedition, and the monsters are not the only threat here. Toma and Chobe encounter two beautiful women getting hot and heavy, but one of them transforms into a man in front of them. The bizarre beings are Tensen, regarded as gods of the island, and they are powerful enough to defeat Toma and Chobe, disposing of them into a pit of humans on the verge of death, who had started sprouting flowers and become the source of the elixir. On another part of Shinsenkyo, Yamada Asemon Tenza is with the criminal Nurugai, looking for a way to get off the island since he judged Nurugai to be innocent and young. However, they encounter another Tensen who proceeds to attack them. To the rescue comes Yamada Asemo Shion, a blind badass who had mentored Tenza when he was just a low-life criminal. Despite the combined effort of the group, they are no match for the Tensen before them, and Tenza makes the heartbreaking decision to repay his master by sacrificing himself and allowing the others to escape. Nurugai is broken when she realizes someone who saw her as a human had died for her sake, and she begs Shion to teach her swordsmanship to avenge Tenza. After confirming that they are not a threat, Hoko offers to take the group to the village, the second zone of the Shinsenkyo, past the forest of monsters. He tells them of Horai, the innermost part of the island where the Tensen reside, and where the elixir is most likely located. At night, Gabimaru gets too impatient and heads to Horai to look for the elixir, only to be confronted by the Tensen who had killed Tenza. Despite putting up a great fight, Gabimaru is humbled upon learning that traditional shinobi techniques, including his ninjutsu, do not work on these godly figures, and they can instantaneously regenerate. Just when he is about to lose his fight, Mei appears and uses her Tao to help Gabimaru escape. However, Gabimaru still managed to mess the Tensen up, who returns to Horai and lies about taking care of Gabimaru. We learn that there are 7 Tensen who rule over the island, using the inhabitants as the source of the elixir known as Tan, which keeps them immortal and youthful. Meanwhile, we also learn that Hoko and the other inhabitants were once human, now reduced to tree-like creatures to fuel the Tensen, who promised their souls would be invited to Horai after death. After being rescued by Mei, Gabimaru teams up with a samurai called Tamiya and his monitor Fuchi. Mei had grown older overnight and now spoke in broken words to try to explain how Tao worked, emphasizing the middle ground. While not fully getting it, Tamiya and Gabimaru have a ton of monsters approaching them, commanded by the Doshi, who are the right-hand men of the Tensen. Meanwhile, somewhere else on the island, Toma and Chobe had survived and climbed out of the pit of flowers, only to be confronted by a Doshi, threatening their freedom once more. However, Chobe surprises the Doshi by unlocking the power of Tao rather quickly, perhaps because he cannibalized some of the converted humans or for some other reason. The Doshi is swiftly defeated in a brutal manner, but Toma is too wary to celebrate. He notices Chobe acting oddly, almost as if the power of Tao is making him lose his grip on reality and sanity. Meanwhile, Gabimaru and Tamiya also learn to channel Tao, although quite basically. The Doshi explains that Mei was a creature inferior to the Tensen because she could only have one type of Tao, like mortals. However, physical intimacy could boost the flow of Tao, so the cruel Tensen had kept her around to act like a piece of meat to make the Doshi and creatures stronger. Hearing this disgusts the group, and they understand why Mei chose to flee, and in a fit of danger, Gabimaru gets a power-up to his Tao, and he manages to defeat the Doshi with Tamiya's help. However, he passes out from overusing his Tao. On the other end of the island, Yuzuriya, Senta, and Sagiri get to Horai looking for Gabimaru and Mei, but are instead confronted by the Tensen Mudan, who reveals their ability to transform and regenerate. Moreover, he reveals that the elixir is a sham, and if an ordinary human drank Tan, they would turn into flowers. The trio tries to subdue him, but to no avail. Mudan seems interested in Yuzuriya, who could use Tao despite being unaware of its existence, and wants to turn her into Tan, but Senta and Sagiri intervene. We learn that Senta had caught feelings for Yuzuriya, since her brutal honesty was the first time he had felt seen, so he aims to protect her. Sagiri, on the other hand, learns that she also does not see Gabimaru as a vile criminal. More importantly, she discovers that her Tao opposes Mudan's, and her middle way philosophy allows her to momentarily channel large amounts of Tao, giving the group a fighting chance. However, the Tensen keeps regenerating and injuring them, eventually transforming into a flower monster with 2 cores, said to be the source of Tao in their solar plexus. The transformed Mudan attacks Yuzuria, but Senta sacrifices himself for her sake, turning into a pillar of flowers because of the infection. At the very last second, when all hope seems lost, the group is rescued by Shion and Nurugai, the latter cutting off the flower roots to improve Senta's chance of survival. Despite being injured, Sagiri wishes to assist Shion in taking down Mudan, and Nurugai hugs her to channel some Tao and improve her stamina. Together, Sagiri, Nurugai, and Shion tried to take down the transformed Tensen. It is quite hard, and even Shion's heightened Tao perception is not enough to help them. But the odds turn in their favor when the mortally wounded Senta reveals that the plant's tandem is the ovule, and not the humanoid cores before Shion. So Shion is successfully able to defeat Mudan by cutting him down. However, their excitement is short-lived, as Senta is on the brink of death. Yuzuria only has medicine for one person, and both Senta and Shion need it. After accepting his fate, Senta shares a sweet moment with Yuzuria as death grabs hold of him. Meanwhile, Gabimaru wakes up from his slumber and is immediately on edge, having suffered memory loss, but pretends that everything is fine, despite not even remembering his wife. Speaking of, Yuzuria theorizes to Sagiri that shinobi are disposable pawns, so perhaps Gabimaru did not have a wife back home, but it was an illusion tactic to keep him obedient towards the shinobi clan. This breaks Sagiri's heart as she awaits being reunited with Gabimaru. That wraps up today's video, where we covered all of Season 1 of Hell's Paradise. Comment down below if you want to see a recap of Season 2. Be sure to like the video and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.